do you understand the importance of the setup for what your exit strategy is? So to give you an idea, and this is one of my other points, if you decide that you set up your limited company and it's great and it's fantastic and it trades for 10 years and it's worth now 10 million quid, and then you want to exit it, you could be liable for tens or hundreds of thousands of pounds of tax, which you actually could have heavily minimised would you have changed the shareholding on day one. Hi, good morning, good afternoon. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about company formations. Now, the first thing that everyone thinks is company formations are easy, they're simple, they're straightforward. Do you know what? Go on any one of about 100 websites, you'll probably pay less than 15 quid, and you can have a company set up and feel very proud of yourself of you've done it all by yourself. However, here's the kicker. The problem that you have when you go and set up any new limited company is that there's things that you're going to get asked, there's questions you're going to get asked, there's information you need to provide. And if you provide something which, for example, if I take a really easy one, like where's your registered office going to be, if you put that registered office is going to be at your home address, fine, that may be exactly what you want to do. However, let's say in 3 months' time you decide, actually, I probably shouldn't have put that as my home address because my home address, I don't like the fact it's on public record. Well, now it's kind of a little bit unlucky. The reason that I say it's unlucky is, of course, you can go and change your registered office. However, Companies House will keep a record of where your old registered office was and that you changed it from that address to this new one. So if you're using a registered office address, be it your accountants, be it the company formation people, or you go and just do a Google search and find, again, endless people that will offer you a registered office service, you're still going to have your home address on Companies House, because Companies House is going to say the registered office address has changed from your home address to this new one. So whilst you can go along and set this company up nice and easy and simply, there's various bits and pieces you can do which have long-lasting implications. And remember, that information is not like in 12 months it goes, in 3 years it goes. It remains for the life of the company. So as long as you have that company, your home address is on public record. And I can't imagine many people either want to shut the company down entirely to start another one to undo that mistake. And even if you do, if anyone goes and looks at the old company, your address is still on public record. Or alternatively, move, which again is a drastic measure to take for something where you've just done a tiny little thing wrong because you didn't understand what the implications were. So what I've done is I've kind of gone through a few questions which I would suggest that you ask yourself before you go and set up any limited company. Because if you go through this list of questions and all of these you go, do you know what, Nick, I understand all of those, I understand the implications, I would 100% advise you, go off and set up a limited company yourself. Because if you know what you're doing, fine. However, if you don't know what you're doing, it's a really dangerous thing to do to go and set up your own limited company. So here's a few questions that you need to ask yourself. Number one, do you understand what the responsibilities of a director are? So before you then go, oh, I'll just put my wife on as a director, or I'll put my husband on, or I'll put Aunt Sally on, or my business partner, whatever you want to do you understand the responsibilities of a director? We have just made a video, by the way, on the requirement to keep accounting records and what you could potentially be making your fellow director liable for if you fail to do that. I'm sure we'll end up putting a link in here or something so we can go along and link back to that video if you haven't already seen it. But do you understand the responsibilities of a director? If the answer is yes, fantastic. If the answer is no, speak to someone before setting up that company. Number two, do you understand the purposes and legalities of a company secretary? Again, you don't need to have a company secretary, so free piece of advice there. You don't have to use it, but if you do use it, do you know what their responsibilities are? Do you know where it's going to be useful? Do you know where you want to disregard it? Number three, do you understand the purpose and requirements of a registered office? Again, I've explained to you that if you use your home address, that's going to be shown on public record, but do you understand the responsibilities of what you need to do as a registered office? So, for example, did you know that your registered office needs to keep your statutory register of members and directors for inspection by any company's house authority or representative that might want to go along and inspect. Again, not many people know, so ask yourself that question, and that is one of the requirements of a registered office. There are many. Do you understand the difference between a service address and a residential address? Again, everyone understands what a residential address is where you live. But do you understand where you might want to use a service address and what the implications of that are? Do you understand the purposes of shareholders? I know this sounds like a really silly question, but a lot of people say, oh yeah, I'm director shareholder, or oh, I'm going to make so-and-so director. Do you know what their responsibilities are? Do you know what you have to do as a shareholder of the company? Do you understand different ways to be remunerated through a limited company? Again, this may be one of these things to go, hang on a second, I didn't think it was as complicated. And you might then want to almost double think, or think again about your idea of, I want a limited company, because suddenly you might think this is too complicated and I don't even want to go down this route. Do you have an exit strategy? And if so, do you understand the importance of the setup for what your exit strategy is? So to give you an idea, and this is one of my other points, if you decide that you set up your limited company and it's great and it's fantastic and it trades for 10 years and it's worth now 10 million quid, and then you want to exit it, you could be liable for tens or hundreds of thousands of pounds of tax, which you actually could have heavily minimised would you have changed the shareholding on day one. So that setup is so important to what's your future plans. And I appreciate not many people go into a limited company going, yes, today I'm going to set it up and in 5 years' time I'm going to sell it and this is what I'm going to get for it, or in 10 years' time it's definitely going to be worth 20 million, or all this stuff. Obviously you don't know, and sometimes people will go and set up a limited company because they've got an idea and they want to start trading next week. Perfect. But have some consideration to what your exit strategy is and understand the implications of exit strategy versus how you set it up in the first place. If the company is successful, do you have a plan of how to actually get the money out? Again, this is all to do with setup, and I appreciate we're talking about day one versus maybe day 3,000 when you decide to get out. But you need to have that consideration at the point you set up the company. Did you know that giving away shares, so I want to go along and give shares away to my auntie Vera, do you know that giving away those shares is going to attract a capital gains tax liability? So crazy as it sounds, I give her 10% of my company because she's my favourite auntie, and I've just made myself liable for £10,000, £20,000, £30,000, despite the fact I haven't even received any money for them. So again, another thing to be aware of when you set it up, because you might decide that you want to put Auntie Vera on day one and not pay the capital gains tax. In the event of the company being unsuccessful, do you know what you can be liable for? Again, do you know what you're liable for as a director? Do you know what you're liable for as a shareholder? If you don't, probably shouldn't be doing this yourself. In the event of the company, oh no, that's about being unsuccessful. If I said the term to you about alphabet shares, does it mean anything to you? Because if you go along and say, nope, I haven't got a clue what you're talking about, it's probably something that you need to learn, you need to research, you need to understand, because even if you decide that you don't need that, to understand that it's available is really important. It's kind of like, you're trying to set something up to wash dishes. You may have a sink, you may have a thing, but to understand there's the existence of a dishwasher may well go along and give you that, even if you disregard it, to know that you can do it allows you to make that informed decision. If you don't know what I'm talking about, again, probably shouldn't be doing this yourself. Do you understand about the SIC codes, which is the standard industry classifications, and what the implications are of getting this wrong? So you get it wrong, and let's say you put the wrong SIC code on, and you want to invest in property. You can go along, you can have the valuation done, you can go through all the process, pay the broker fee, and the underwriter will go along and say, you got the wrong SIC code, we're not lending to you. So suddenly you've now got to try and race this stuff before you lose the property to get everything done and rectified. And whilst everyone says, yeah, it's fine, I'll just change it on company's house, it really isn't that straightforward. So make sure you get that right at the beginning. And if you don't know what you're talking about in its SIG codes, probably shouldn't be doing this yourself. There's an underlying theme that keeps going through this, but here we go. The final point I put on there is, do you understand the legalities of identifying the PSCs of the company? Again, so PSCs, for some more free information from us, is persons of significant control. So again, man in pub no doubt will tell you is, oh yeah, anyone who's got over 25% of the company, they're a PSC, they need to be identified. And yeah, you're right, that does qualify as a PSC. However, you also have to identify anyone in the company that has significant influence or control on the company. So to make sure you identify the PSCs, I'm sure, in a later video, I'll go along and tell you all the implications of not doing that and what parts of the Companies Act you're in breach of by not properly identifying the PSCs. But you need to do it, and if you don't know what you're talking about with PSCs, probably shouldn't be doing this yourself. So what I've hopefully done is to given you some points of things that you just need to think about. You just need to really make sure you understand what you're doing. I think the phrase is, well informed, well armed, or I'm sure there's many buzz phrases that you can use for this. But do your research, understand what you're doing before you go ahead and do it, because otherwise it's very much like, oh, that's fine, I'm a bricklayer, I know how to build a house, but I know nothing about foundations. You can put an awful lot of work in to watch the whole thing come crumbling down. So if this video has been useful to you, do feel free to click the subscribe button. If you click onto notifications when we go along and release a new video, so we're doing videos all the time about things which will hopefully be useful to business owners, tax saving, time saving ideas, and we're even going to do some videos for the general public who are not necessarily involved in businesses. So hit that notifications button, hit the subscribe button, feel free to comment below if this has been useful to you, and if you do need any help in setting up a limited company, by all means get in touch with us. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube as you're probably watching this, we're also on Instagram, and yeah, get in touch with us and I'm sure we can help. I look forward to speaking to you soon, and thanks for watching.